Welcome back to the Qlause Safety Series. This is Module S2, Hazard Identification and Risk Assessment. In Module 1, you learned the deal, your 3 rights, and the golden rule about stopping work. This module gives you the skill underneath all of it, seeing danger before it moves and judging it clearly. By the end, you'll know how to hunt hazards the way experienced assessors do, how to rate a risk with 2 honest questions, and how to run the simple 5-step assessment used in some form on every well-run site in the world. This isn't paperwork skills. It's the difference between reacting to accidents and preventing them. Let's get started. 4 takeaways this time. First, you'll learn to hunt hazards systematically, not just noticing what's in front of you, but searching the way assessors search, including the hazards that hide in non-routine work. Second, you'll be able to rate any risk with 2 questions, how likely and how bad, and you'll know the traps that make people answer dishonestly. Third, you'll use the hierarchy of controls as a working tool, choosing actions that actually cut the risk down, not just paper over it. And fourth, you'll know the 5 steps of a proper risk assessment and your part in the formal assessments your site runs. 1 module, 4 skills, and every one of them starts working on your very next shift. Here's a strange truth about safety work. The accident you prevent is invisible. Nobody gets a certificate for the finger that wasn't lost or the fire that never started. All that prevention happens in one quiet moment. The moment somebody looked at a job and saw what could go wrong before it did. That's what hazard identification really is. Not a form, not an annual exercise, a way of looking. And here's the encouraging part. It's completely learnable. Assessors aren't braver or smarter than you. They've just trained their eyes to search in a pattern, and their judgment to answer honestly. This module teaches you that pattern and that honesty. The form comes last, the looking comes first. Here is the ground rule for this module. You cannot control a hazard you haven't seen. Every control on your site, every guard, every procedure, every warning sign, exists because someone, at some point, saw the hazard and did something about it. Which means the opposite is also true. The hazard nobody has spotted has no control at all. It's just waiting, at full strength, for the first person to meet it. That's why hazard identification isn't a specialist's job. The more trained eyes a site has, the fewer invisible hazards it carries. Your eyes count. From today, they're part of the safety system. Every shift, every task, every walk across the floor. Before you hunt hazards, it helps to know what you're actually hunting. Strip away the details and almost every workplace injury is the same event. Energy, reaching a body, uncontrolled. Mechanical energy, things that move, spin, cut, and crush. Electrical energy, gravity, anything that can fall, including you. Chemical energy, what burns, corrodes, or poisons. Thermal, hot surfaces, steam, cold. Pressure, compressed air, hydraulics, gas in a cylinder. Sound and vibration, wearing you down slowly. And the energy of your own body, lifting, reaching, repeating. When you look at a task, ask, what energy is present here, and what's keeping it away from people? Suddenly, you're not memorizing a list of hazards. You're seeing the physics of the place. And physics is much harder to miss. So how do you search? 5 techniques, straight from experienced assessors. Walk the task, not the area. Follow the work from start to finish, the way the material and the person actually move, and the hazards line up to meet you. Ask the person who does the job. They know where it bites, which step feels wrong, what the standard doesn't mention. Look up and look down. Hazards love the places eyes don't go. Overhead loads, cables at ankle height, the underside of the machine. Check the edges of the job. Starting up, shutting down, clearing a jam, cleaning. The in-between moments where routine protection often isn't there. And use the history, near-miss reports, first aid records, that corner everyone instinctively avoids. Your site's memory knows where the hazards are. Read it. 3 kinds of hazard hide from a casual look, and they're the ones that hurt people. First, non-routine work. A large share of serious accidents happen not during production, but during maintenance, cleaning, jam clearing, and setup. When guards are open, energy is live, and the pressure to hurry is highest. If your risk assessment only covers the normal running of the job, it's missing where the danger actually lives. Second, slow harm. Noise, dust, vibration, awkward postures, repetition. Nothing dramatic happens today, but hearing, lungs, backs, and wrists pay the bill years later. You can't see these by watching one shift. You have to ask what the job does to a body over 10 years. And third, the familiar. The hazard you've walked past 100 times has not become safe. It's become invisible. Fresh eyes find it. Be the fresh eyes. Once you've found a hazard, you need to judge it. Because you can't fix everything at once, and the point of assessment is knowing what to fix first. Risk is just 2 questions, answered honestly. Question 1. How likely is it that this hazard actually harms someone? Think about how often people are exposed, how close they get, what's happened before. Question 2. If it does happen, how bad? A bruise? A broken bone? A lost hand? A life? Multiply those 2 answers together in your head, and you have the risk. A deep pit behind a locked fence. Terrible severity, tiny likelihood. Managed. A small oil drip on the main walkway. Modest severity, near certain likelihood. That one needs fixing today. Likelihood times severity. 2 questions. Ask honestly. Every time. Sites turn those 2 questions into a picture called a risk matrix. Likelihood up one side, severity along the other. Where your hazard lands tells everyone the same thing in the same language. The red zone, likely and serious, means act now. Stop the task if needed, and don't restart until the risk is down. The amber zone means plan action. The job can run, but a better control has a name and a deadline attached. The green zone means monitor. The risk is controlled. Keep it that way, and check it stays that way. Your site's matrix might be 3 by 3 or 5 by 5 with its own colors and words. The layout varies, the logic never does. What matters is this: the matrix isn't the assessment. Your honest answers are the assessment. The matrix just makes them visible. Now the hard part: honesty. Risk ratings fail not because people can't multiply, but because 4 comfortable lies creep into the answers. Lie 1. We've always done it this way. Years without an accident can mean the risk is low, or that your luck is long. The near misses will tell you which. Lie 2. He's experienced, he'll be fine. Experience reduces some likelihood, but the hazard doesn't check your service record. Rate the task, not the person. Lie 3. It's only a 2-minute job. Short jobs skip preparation, and the energy doesn't know you're in a hurry. That's exactly why so many injuries happen in the quick little tasks. And lie 4. The near misses don't count. They count double. They are the honest data about likelihood that your accident record is hiding. Strip out the 4 lies and your ratings start telling the truth. A quick word on judging severity, because people swing to extremes. Some rate everything as catastrophic, then nothing stands out, and the truly dangerous work drowns in red. Others can't imagine anything going badly wrong. Then the matrix glows a comfortable, dishonest green. The discipline is this: rate the worst credible outcome, not the worst imaginable one. Ask 2 grounding questions. How much energy is in this hazard? A hand tool and a hydraulic press both pinch. One bruises, the other takes the hand. The energy tells you which. And which part of the body meets it? Eyes, hands, lungs, and backs are the usual customers. Picture the actual contact, not a vague "someone gets hurt." Credible, specific, grounded in the energy. That's a severity rating worth writing down. You've rated the risk. Now cut it down. And this is where the hierarchy of controls stops being a poster and becomes a toolkit. Notice what each level actually does. Eliminate and substitute attack both numbers at once. Remove the hazard or swap it for something weaker, and likelihood and severity fall together. That's why they sit at the top. Engineering controls, guards, interlocks, extraction, barriers, mostly cut likelihood. The energy is still there, but it can't easily reach anyone. Administrative controls and PPE don't change the hazard at all. They make people harder to catch and soften the blow when they are caught. Useful, necessary, and fragile. So when your assessment says, "Fix this," push up the pyramid as far as the site can reasonably go. A risk controlled by design stays controlled on a bad day. A risk controlled by memory doesn't. One more layer of honesty. You assess the risk as it really is, with the controls that are really there. That's called the residual risk, and the word "really" is doing the heavy lifting. A guard that's listed in the file but sitting on a shelf is not a control. An extraction system that's switched off, a procedure nobody's read, PPE that lives in a locker, none of them count. So when you assess, ask 3 blunt questions about every control you're relying on. Is it in place? Physically? Today? Is it working? Tested? Maintained? Not bypassed? And is it actually used? By everyone? On night shift too? When nobody's watching? If any answer is no, the paper risk and the real risk are 2 different numbers, and it's the real one that hurts people. Assess the workplace you have, not the one in the file. Everything so far snaps together into the 5-step risk assessment, the pattern behind virtually every method used worldwide. Step 1. Find the hazards. Walk the task, ask the person, think energy, check the edges. Step 2. Decide who might be harmed, and how. Operators, but also the fitter, the cleaner, the visitor, the new starter, and anyone with a particular vulnerability. Step 3. Evaluate the risk, likelihood times severity, with the controls that really exist, and decide what more is needed, pushing up the hierarchy. Step 4. Record it and act. Findings written simply, actions with a name and a date. An assessment without actions is a diary, not a safety tool. Step 5. Review, because sites change, and an assessment describes the site on the day it was written. 5 steps, simple enough for a toolbox talk, strong enough to run a plant on. Your site runs formal risk assessments, baseline ones covering whole areas, issue-based ones when something changes or goes wrong. They're usually led by a trained person. So what's your part? 3 things. Be the expert. Nobody knows the task like the person who does it. When an assessor asks how the job really works, that's not small talk. That's the core data of the assessment. Say the quiet part, the workaround, the step everyone skips, the guard that gets propped open on hot days. An assessment built on the official version of the job protects an imaginary workplace. And challenge the paper. If the assessment says a control exists and you know it doesn't, say so. That's not causing trouble. That's the single most valuable sentence a risk assessment can contain. A risk assessment is a photograph, not a painting. It shows the site on the day it was taken. The moment something changes, the photograph is out of date. So carry this list in your head. A new machine or an old one moved. A new chemical or material. A new method, including the unofficial, faster way that just evolved on the floor. A new person on the task, especially a young or inexperienced one. After any incident or near miss, because the event just proved the old assessment missed something. And whenever you catch yourself improvising around a problem, the assessment never mentions. Any of these? Say it. This has changed. Has the assessment kept up? One sentence, asked out loud, is how assessments stay alive instead of yellowing in a file. All of this compresses into a habit that takes less than a minute. The personal risk check, before every task, every time. 3 questions, in your head, hand on the work. 1. What am I about to do? The whole task, including the awkward bit in the middle. 2. What could hurt me or anyone nearby? Think energy. What's moving, live, hot, heavy, pressurized? 3. What will I do about it? The guard, the isolation, the PPE, the second pair of hands, the better tool. 60 seconds, 3 answers, and the rule that makes it real. If you can't answer all 3 with confidence, don't start. Ask. A supervisor would far rather answer a question than fill in an incident report. This one habit, practiced by everyone, prevents more harm than any document on the site. The same honest note as Module 1. The principles travel, the details are local. In South Africa, the OHS Act requires employers to identify hazards and assess risks, the process most sites call HIRA. In the United States, OSHA requires hazard assessments for specific areas like PPE selection, and the General Duty Clause demands a workplace free of recognized hazards. Across the European Union, the Framework Directive makes documented risk assessment the explicit foundation of the whole safety system in every member state's law. And ISO 45001 builds its entire management standard around hazard identification and risk assessment as a continuous, living process. Different words, same spine. Your site's assessment method, matrix, and forms follow your local rules. Learn them, and bring today's thinking to them. Let's keep the honest boundary for Module 1. This module gives you the thinking behind risk assessment, hazard hunting, honest rating, the hierarchy, the 5 steps, the 60-second habit. It makes you a sharp-eyed contributor to your site's assessments, and that's genuinely valuable. It does not make you a risk assessment leader. Leading a formal HIRA takes a trained, competent person under your local rules. And some assessments are specialist work entirely. Machine safety evaluations, chemical exposure and occupational hygiene surveys, structural and lifting assessments. If a risk needs measuring rather than judging, noise levels, air quality, load limits, that's instruments and specialists, not estimates. Know the boundary, use the experts, and keep bringing them the one thing they can't get anywhere else, what the work is really like. 5 things to keep from this module. 1. You can't control a hazard you haven't seen, so look in a pattern, walk the task, ask the person, think energy, check the edges. 2. Risk is 2 honest questions. How likely, how bad? And the 4 lies are waiting to bend both answers. 3. Cut risk by climbing the hierarchy. Design beats discipline, and a control only counts if it's in place, working, and used. 4. Assessments are photographs. When the work changes, the assessment must catch up, and your voice is what keeps it honest. And 5. The 60-second check. What am I doing? What could hurt? What will I do about it? Before every task, every time. Not sure? Don't start. Ask. That's Module S2. Well done. You now look at your workplace differently, and that's the whole point. 3 things before you go. First, download the free module pack at qlause.app. The quiz, the toolbox talk for your team, the attendance register, and a hazard hunt worksheet that turns this module into a 10-minute exercise in your own area. Second, put the 60-second check to work tomorrow. 3 questions, before every task. It becomes automatic faster than you'd think. And third, Module S3 is next. Personal protective equipment, the last line of defense, and how to make it actually protect you. Stay sharp, keep your eyes trained, and we'll see you there.